Point of View, where we give students a place to listen, learn, and lean in. We're your hosts, Jordi,
Caitlyn,
and Anastasia.
And today we'll be celebrating the 50 years of hip-hop. Hip-hop popped up in the Bronx during the early 70s. It emerged as the socio-economic conditions in black communities. It was to reflect off the negative political discourse in a rapidly changing economy. Also, this is when demographics in our country were changing rapidly. In the 50s and 60s, our country was very divided, especially in New York. During this time, people of color were targeted and going through many struggles. This was especially hard for young people like ourselves. They eventually were able to find an outlet, something to get their minds off the troubling world. The subculture and art movement hip-hop was introduced. The most known influencer for hip-hop was DJ Kool Herc. He was an 18-year-old immigrant from Jamaica. He was considered the founder of hip-hop. In 1973, he and his sister hosted a back-to-school jam in their apartment in the Bronx. That was known as the launching of hip-hop. Hip-hop is broken up into 4 different elements: DJing, rapping, graffiti painting, and breakdance. All of these were brought up in the 70s. Graffiti and breakdancing were the first elements to get acknowledged by the public. The graffiti all started with one teen who tagged his name and street name on one of the walls in New York City subway systems. By 1975, teenagers all over were tagging their names and drawing pictures from TV shows and just murals in general. In 1977, a graffiti artist named Lee Quinones painted murals on basketball and handball courts. He also painted some on subway trains. While some people were okay with graffiti murals, New York City didn't respond very well with that. Dogs, barbed wire fences, paint-removing acid baths, and undercover police squads were all used to put a stop to graffiti. According to Today, in cities that didn't fully work, breakdancing originated in the early 70s by Latin American and African American youths. It was made up of stylized footwork, some gymnastics, athletic moves, and martial arts. With all these added elements of hip-hop, it became an outlet for many people. It soon spread throughout the 5 boroughs of New York City. Many more artists like Sugar Hill Gang, the Rock City Crew, DJ Grand Wizard Theodore were some of the pioneers for hip-hop in the 70s.
The wave or popularity of hip-hop started to rise in the early 1980s with its newly incorporated sound of disco and funk influence. These 2 elements made rappers like Curtis Blow develop a distinct sound of hip-hop dance music. This sound conveys a synthful and groovy effect. By the mid-1980s, trio group Run DMC added rock music into their rap in order to attract different groups of people. And with this plan came success in 1986 when Run DMC's album Raising Hell was one of hip-hop's top 10 albums and peaked number 1 on Billboard's top R&B album charts. Alongside came LL Cool J, one of hip-hop's earliest and successful acts. In 1985, one of the first leading female acts of hip-hop, Salt and Pepper, transformed the portrayal of a male-dominated industry by showing women could participate and be successful. LL Cool J began to incorporate melodic hooks in order to create a catchy and memorable effect for hip-hop listeners. With the hip-hop scene gradually transitioning in the versatility of sound, towards the late 1980s, gangster rap started to rise, a subgenre that originated from the embodiment or culture of the urban lifestyle or street hustle of gangs. Artists like NWA, a group from Compton, originally popularized this genre of hip-hop and is considered the leading figure of gangster rap. Their lyricism, often conveyed in gangster rap, deals with social issues, drugs, and police brutality. Often in NWA songs, their intent was to rap about social issues in the hip-hop scene, such as gun violence. Due to the versatility and drastic change in hip-hop styles in the 1980s, it is now credited as the decade that shaped or diversified hip-hop. The diverse concept could also be seen in the 80s fashion. The new and filthy obsession with shoes became popular when commercial shoe brands like Fila, Reebok, and Puma dominated the hip-hop scene. After artist Run DMC dropped a song, My Adidas, with reference to the brand, it emerged. Types of shoes or how many you own became an apparel that represented how wealthy you were during this time. In 1985, the release of Jordan shoes dominated the fashion industry. The trendy and edgy style created an aesthetic of oversized clothing, tracksuits, and bucket hats, popularized by mainstream artists LL Cool J, and the iconic Harlem break dance portrayed a groovy and free movement. Other dances include the electric slide and Running Man.
Entering the 90s began a new era of hip-hop. Artists like Busta Rhymes, LL Cool J, Ice Cube, and Jay-Z paved the way. Hip-hop was growing bigger and bigger, slowly creeping its way into mainstream culture, with people following rivalries within hip-hop, such as the feud between Bad Boy Records and Death Row Records, ending with the death of Tupac and the notorious B.I.G. Nevertheless, just as it began, hip-hop songs often integrated social and political issues within the music. This was often accompanied by the subgenre boom bap. The name mimics the boom of the strong bass and drums, and the bap imitates the snares. It's the typical beat that you might think of when you think of hip hop. Boom bap music often sampled songs, meaning that artists would use music from other artists incorporating it into a new song. NWA used this heavily in their album Straight Outta Compton. Rappers would most often speak about the issues primarily impacting Black and impoverished communities. These topics, such as drug addiction, crime, racism, and police brutality, often served as the backbone amongst the songs. With hip hop rapidly growing popularity in mainstream media, these issues became public. Rappers often used the music as a form of self-expression, something that would otherwise prove difficult for Black Americans in any other industry. Bringing these topics to light often came with backlash from older generations, feeling that rap was proof of what was wrong with Black communities, highlighting the hypersexuality, violence, and misogyny that undoubtedly was in many rap songs. One of the people opposing rap was civil rights and women's rights activist C. Dolores Tucker. She saw hip-hop as a threat to the advancement of Black Americans, feeling that it played into stereotypes that were already against them. Although she felt rap was damaging to Black women, many Black female rappers began to emerge during her time, paved the way in a male-dominated space, offering new perspectives within the same genre. These rappers often discuss issues such as sexual harassment and heartbreak within Black communities, showing how they differ from white spaces and the male gaze. This included artists like Queen Latifah, MC Lyte, Missy Elliott, Lauryn Hill, and Eve. Other female rappers took a different route when infiltrating the industry. Some rappers such as Lil' Kim capitalized off of how the media represented Black women, taking control of her own sexuality rather than to be sexualized. As the 90s continued, the subgenre boom bap began to decline significantly. As copyright laws became stricter, this meant that artists that weren't signed to a record label that could afford to pay for the song could no longer make that kind of music, and thus it faded out. In the 2000s, the new decade of hip-hop was trailblazed by artists such as 50 Cent, Lil Wayne, and Jay-Z. During the 2000s, in boom bap's place emerged crunk music. Originating in Memphis, Tennessee, crunk music, the new subgenre of hip-hop, was a style in which artists would recite repeated, catchy, often instructional phrases accompanied by electronic music showing the new technology of the time. This was almost always used for dancing. It was very up-tempo, using call and response music, in which the artist uses one line and the next line would speak directly to it. This was highly popularized by 3 6 Mafia. This subgenre includes songs like Get Low, Knuck If You Buck, Crank That, and Pop Lock and Drop It. This type of music is still cherished in American spaces, like family reunions, school dances, and birthday parties. The 2000s were most influential when speaking about fashion. No other genre of music was able to impact the mainstream fashion choices like hip-hop did. Just as rap was seen as rebellious, it was reflected in the outfits that the rappers wore. They had big accessories, oversized clothing, combining the styles that may have been represented in urban communities with flashy, expensive accessories. Rappers popularized designer monogrammed outfits, grills, fitted caps, and chains as a sign of status within the industry. Designer Dapper Dan was very skilled with mixing street style and high fashion. He designed for LL Cool J, Bobby Brown, Salt-N-Pepa, and many more celebrities of the time. One of the most notable people that capitalized the new hip-hop style of streetwear was Pharrell Williams. Pharrell's style was so popular that he was able to co-found a clothing brand, Billionaire Boys Club, with Nigo, the founder of the Bathing Ape. Many artists took a different route, using fashion as a form of self-expression, such as the group Outkast. Members Andre 3000 and Big Boy pushed fashion boundaries using clothing to push their music. The contributions of hip-hop's influence in fashion often goes overlooked, oversimplified, and underappreciated, as it has been adopted worldwide, with people scrapping the word street style for the umbrella term Y2K in recent years. Nonetheless, the fashion of the 2000s is still sought after by younger generations.
In this period of life, hip-hop started to become more recreational in its sound qualities and effects. It created a production space of independent or internet-based music such as mumble rap, a genre that some say was influenced by the rapper Future, known for unclear and mumbled lyrics. Mumble rap often includes elements of very deciphering and unclear raps with the overused autotune effect. In today's rap, the genre is performed by a lot of famous rappers in the hip-hop industry like Young Thug, Lil Uzi Vert, Designer, Chief Keef, and Migos. Mumble rap originally began on the music streaming site SoundCloud in 2012 to 2013. Versace, a song recorded by Migos, was released in 2013, showcased the effect of mumble rap and the lyricism. Nicki Minaj is today's generational lead female act in the rap industry. Nicki Minaj is considered one of the most influential figures of the 2010s decade, not only in hip-hop music, but has mastered the ability to expand her versatility in other musical genres and character portrayal. In 2010, Nicki Minaj released a song titled Super Bass from the album Pink Friday, which became an overnight success and blew up her music career due to its catchy bubblegum and pop sound. Thus became a pop favorite. Super Bass charted number 3 on Billboard Top 100, becoming the rapper's then biggest single. Another familiar act is Canadian rapper Drake, who had a role in the show Degrassi but later established his music career at the start of the 2010s era. A multi-Grammy award-winning rapper known for his distinct and extraordinary blend of sounds in hip-hop and R&B released his first album with Thank Me Later, which debuted in June 2010, launched him further in the rap game. In November 2011, he released the song Take Care, which won him his first Grammy in 2013 for Best Album of the Year. Drake has been one of the most constant rappers in the 2010s decade to consistently top the music charts with hits like One Dance, Hold On, We're Going Home, and God's Plan. From 2015 to now has become the time when hip-hop started to get more trendy in fashion, concept, and lyricism. Most rappers often included lyrics about glamorous lifestyles and materialistic things, and less storytelling. For example, the model of cars is heavily emphasized by its luxurious features in rap songs today. In 2017, Migos released the song Bad and Bougie, which glamorizes the aesthetic of gangster life, money, and motor vehicles. The fashion in today's hip-hop scene portrays very materialistic and designer apparel from brands like Hermes, Chanel, and Gucci. Similar to how in the 80s, the amount of shoes or type you owned showed how wealthy you were. Female and male rappers often accessorize in fancy, bulky jewelry like Rolex watches and chains, which can be derived from the slang term iced out from rapper Saweetie.
Okay, so that has been hip-hop in the past 50 years. And what is y'all's favorite decade of hip-hop?
I think my favorite decade was the 90s. When I was going through and researching, I listened to a lot of NWA, and yeah, it was just super good.
I think mine is the 2000s, because that's when hip hop kind of started evolving and just its fashion and stuff, and it became cooler, and the sound was really nice, and there were also a lot of artists that I grew up listening to during that period. So 2000s was definitely a great year for or decade for hip hop.
Okay, so my favorite decade would be the 80s and 90s, mainly because my mom grew up in the 90s. She was a teenager in the 90s, so that's all she listened to, and she would make me listen to it. And then the 80s is because my grandmother, she didn't grow up in the 80s, but she just loves 80s rap all the time, so she makes me listen to it, and she plays it all the time at the house. This concludes this episode. Thank you so much for listening. For a transcript of this episode, head to the Point of View tab on our website, nhsmessenger.org, and follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at NHS Point of View for updates and new episodes. We're your hosts, Jordi,
Caitlyn,
Anastasia,
and this has been Point of View.